Here we go again with a preview German Bundesliga perfect betting game, I call it. Um, as we go on the probabilities, and with the probabilities, you can do anything. You can, well, to say they are right, this is impossible. But I got plenty of tools to check whether or not in the long run they are reliable, they are okay, they are close to the truth, if there were any kind of truth. In this sense. So, if I say Augsburg got 11.88% to win the game, it's just one single prediction on this special game. Either it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. So we will never find out if this had been right, 11.88%. Well, we can say in the long run that if I keep doing this, and well, you should have the small values from time to time, you should have the bigger values from time to time. And in the long run, you can tell somehow that this guy who has been predicting, you can't say whether a single prediction has been good, but you can say this guy has been predicting pretty okay. That's all you can say. But I'm not going to show you the method how to do this. I'm just telling you that we got 100% to distribute on those three possible outcomes. You could, of course, have a lot more outcomes if you would make a difference between 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, or any other for a draw, for example. So then you would have 0-0, maybe 5%, 1-1, 6%, 2-2, 4%, or whatever. What did I get? 5, 6, 4. So this is 15 plus 2.13% for the others, because 3-3 and higher is very unlikely. But you would have something like that, so you would have much more chances of an outcome. But we go back to we say what matters is, do they win as a draw or do they lose, so to say, Augsburg. This is what we care for. This is what counts most for the table, because you can say the goal difference does count, not in case of a draw, because if it's a draw, the goal difference is always the same. But in case of a win, it could be a 0-1, it could be a 1-2, 2-3. Not a big difference, but then it could be 0-4, 1-5, or whatever. Or plenty of other possibilities for a Bayern win. And then it would matter for the goal difference, because then possibly Augsburg could fall behind someone with a big loss, also, who's just 1 point behind and wins a draw, for example. Anyway, we care for win, draw, loss, whatever that means to the table, and whatever it means to it, but it is what matters most. Do they win? Do they draw? Do they lose? For any team. And so I distribute those 100%, and I wait for someone to join me playing this game with those probabilities. And this is the sum of these three, as you can see here, or it's highlighting it already. Excel is doing that for me. So you can see this is the sum of these three. It's always 100%. And I'm actually compiling this, and the true prices is, or any true price, or a true price, or any price paid, is somehow a reciprocal of a probability. So divide this, or 100% divided by this gives you 1.85. And I could of course show more digits, or fewer, or more, and you see this is not the end of it. It's not pure plain 185. But I do not have this partner to bet with on pure probabilities. I mean, I would be happy if we were playing this kind of betting game and all the world were playing it and they all would distribute the 100% because it's the only fair method of really comparing who's doing well on that. It's not so much, 1-3 I can simply write down because I say, okay, Bayern are going to win 3-1. But I don't care so much. If they win 2-0, I can say, okay, my goal with difference was fine, whatever it is. But I do not get a fair reward if I say, okay, here we have the surprise. So this is 2-1 for Augsburg. What is my gain if I say so? There's no gain at all because the probability is very low. I know that. Everyone else knows it. It may happen here or there, and I may beat the others, but all I win is 2 points or 3 points because they say you were good. But I'm not getting the fair return for making a bet on an outsider. So all I could do is bet Bayern Munich, bet the most likely result. And I should, of course, beat other people in doing so. I've done that once. I remember just taking the highest probabilities also, but it gets pretty boring, and I can't even. I've done it for someone else, and I think he didn't tell me what happened in the end. And we did it pre-season for every single game, so yeah, I don't know. It's not so exciting then. True prices, yeah, probabilities. So if someone would organize this kind of betting game and say, okay, let's do it like this. Everyone is going to distribute the 100% on 1, x, and 2. And then write it down, and then we make a fair amount of money on every single game. This is the 1,000 euro here I'm saying, which is not the amount of money you risk. It's just to balance the turnover you're doing on every single game. Anyway, and then we could happily start. But I'm taking the betting market as my partner to bet with, and here are the prices. This is why I'm showing you this, because I entered those prices from here. Augsburg 12.03. Those are undergoing changes. I think we won't find many because I just entered it, but here you see one 3.74, 3.73, 5.02, 5.05. But I'm not going to enter it again. This has been maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes ago, I don't know. And so, but anyway, what you see here, there may be changes because someone, I don't know, if they adjust their prices, the betting offices they are taking this from. I don't know, and I don't care so much. I mean, we're close enough. It's not a mistake that I typed in here 173, this is right, 4.07. No, I typed in 4.1. This was not a typing error, it was change of price here. Draw went down at market. I'm not gonna re-enter it. Anyway, what we see here is that those prices are not designed to return you 100%. I take the reciprocal of those prices entered. Those reciprocals are in some sense probabilities, but they are not really probabilities because, well, they could hardly say it's 103% that either of these, or 103.72% that either of these is going to happen. But still I can take those reciprocals because this is, I mean, it's close enough to one of these values. I just take the reciprocals here, not claiming those are probabilities because they are not. Although they are written here as probabilities, but they are designed to, well, this is close to. And 103.72% means if you were going to bet all three sides with a balanced amount of money, you would still lose in the end. I had another odds comparison where it quite often had been below 100%, but I don't think they were really serious. So I changed to this side here. And so anyway, here we got 103%. I'm going to shape this to 100% because I simply say, well, how do I get from here to there? Very simply, by doing multiplying this value with the reciprocal of this, and do this for every by 1 divided by, yeah, this is the reciprocal, and I do that for every single one. This is this times reciprocal of this, and so I shape this to 100% like that. So I'm simply assuming, yeah, that market says those are the probabilities, which no one does, but tuned to 100%. I simply say, well, you do say more or less. When you have this price, you more or less say the probability for Augsburg to win is 8.01%. And I myself say it's 11.88%. So I'm pretty far away once again with Bayern, and they keep winning. Maybe when they played Leverkusen, I can't remember, but maybe I was even better. I would have preferred if Bayern would have won, so I was wrong on every Bayern game more or less, except the early ones when I didn't do this comparison. But market is again a bit too much, as I would put it, leaning towards Bayern. I say 71%, they say 77.13. So this is quite some difference. But if you would ask someone, I mean, could you rate the probability for Bayern to win in Augsburg? Oh, they would say maybe 90%. I don't know what they would say, but they usually would not come up with a decent value. You can try yourself and ask people around. Just simply say a probability for Bayern to win in Augsburg. And so even though market has a much higher value than I have, 77% would still mean, well, 1 in 4 games more or less, or close to 1 in 4 games, they would not win. So you could have plenty of reason to be actually still excited, because you could say, well, are they going to win tonight? I don't know. I'm not so sure. Or you say, well, this is boring, Bayern are going to win. I don't care. I don't watch it. But it's the highest probability of all. So Bayern, once again, are the biggest favorite, which is very common. But I got my own statistics and stuff and ways to compile it, of course, also to compare it. You can check actually, well, in the tables. You can, well, at the end of a season, you can divide the number of wins by the number of games they played. And if they have, even if they had in one season 28 wins in 34 games, this is less than, this is 83, is it, what is it? Yeah, 1.6, yeah, that's 83% or so. So it's not maybe as likely as people might think. But then they had a splendid season, and maybe the true price would have been 120 then. But it's an away game. Okay, anyway, I've tuned this to 100%. I've talked about this quite often, but sometimes why not do it again, repeat this. So here I put just the probabilities next to each other, mine and markets, so one can try and spot the differences here. Also in other games. Here we are close, very close, and so on. And whenever my probability is bigger than this one, then it would be helpful if this occurred. If market has a higher probability, it's gonna market to profit if it happens. So Schalke, I would be happy if they would not win, because this would help market. Draw would also help market. I would just need a Freiburg win, you can tell here. And as we both say this is a low probability, but I say it's a bit bigger than you think, I need a big reward for that, right? So, because I accept that, you're right, yeah, it's a very low probability. It's still you underrated it. So my value should give me some profit. And the profit is calculated in a minute. Here are just the true prices, so reciprocals both would add up to 100% because those are tuned. And then this I'm doing more or less to calculate these chances here, or the possible payouts. It's based on 1,000 euro, which means in the end every sum of these three values will be 2,000 euro. Here I've given this example because this is the sum of these three values here highlighted. So it's the sum of this, and the next is the sum of these three, and this would happen again if I've done it again. Actually, I could put it up here to prove I'm right, but it surely is right. And then we see what can happen, and how do I calculate this? I take my probability plus your probability. So this is a very fair way of doing it. Here are the probabilities. So we take this amount, this probability plus this times those 1,000 euro. And this is how much we bet at each other's true price. So we bet 198.94, which is this plus this in brackets times 1,000. So this would add up to 19.89. So this is 198.94. And to work out how much someone has to pay out, we need, this is black, yeah, this is right, because I want this to happen. To work out this amount of money, we simply multiply, in case Augsburg are going to win, in case they are going to win. Market has to return me this times this, while I would have to return to them this times this. So he's, so to say, he's paying a very high price on his low probability, and while I'm paying, yeah, also a low probability, but this price is a lot higher. And so I'm gonna win a lot. Although we do not bet this much money, but still it's gonna be, because the difference between these two, this is 4 units, so to say, so I would win 4 times this amount of money, because I win 4 units of this size. And if the draw is going to happen, I'm still very happy with 286. If Bayern are going to win, I am bleeding a bit, but it's just 166.17. Well, if it's 70%, I would happily pay that. If it's 77%, then I would still have to pay it. It's going to happen more often, but I would be wrong, and market would be right. If it's more than 77%, still I'm going to lose in the majority of cases, in the vast majority of cases, especially compared to what I think the probability is. But market would still be wrong and would still come short to someone having a higher probability. But we do not know. We just know these values here and the payouts. And what I can say, at least, market has outclassed me, market has beaten me so far. I was very bad the first time when I started it, because I was, of course, laughing about it. So I thought that's very typical, because you start to show something and you are badly losing. You're simply on the wrong side. And sometimes I won from then on, and sometimes I lost. So this was okay then from then on. The last match day was a terrible one again. So I'm even more behind than I was after the first match day. So I could say market has not only been here, maybe lucky, maybe this. I was trying to work this out in the single reviews. This payout, of course, is the sum of all those which come out in case any results are gonna come in. As soon as the results are ready, we will see whether this or this or this is gonna happen. Okay, so now I was talking about Bayern. We have a derby. We have Bayern with Liverpool ahead, and we got Augsburg, who actually played better. And a couple of things, and actually Bayern are not this reliable. I got stats for this proving, but anyone can read the table because they are not top of the table. So there would be a point in my view. But market still says Bayern are too strong. And I would say Augsburg, well, can put up some resistance. This is always difficult. When Bayern are going to play, it's hard to argue. And in the end, you're going to see again, they did win. So what are I talking about? 70%. This is a joke. You know, here's not much of a difference. I'm still happier if Stuttgart win or draw. It is meaningless, you could say, but I can't do much there, just figures. But would I argue pro Stuttgart? I wouldn't, but now they changed, they sacked the coach again, and they installed as Hitzelsberger and so on. And of course, they try to be optimistic. I have no idea why they do so, because I would rather say, well, let's see what's going to happen. And instead, they have to say, yes, we know from now on we are going to, and we have a good squad, and so on. Why would they do so? I mean, just simply, okay, we try our best. We try to get the players ready for the game. We try to have a perfect tactics. We know the others are better. Still, maybe we can squeeze something out here. Anyway, in this game, I just would like, I would prefer if no draw is going to happen. This is here market, I can say it is just silly, but I can only prove it with results, because market, I also have those goal line bets. And in the goal line bets, you have the highest goal line here, even higher than in Leverkusen, where it's a high line too, and also in Augsburg Bayern. So market knows all by itself that this is the most unlikely, or it is the game with the most goal prone, you can say, most goals in it. And if there are most goals in it, then very obviously, like in handball, if you have plenty of goals, there are no draws, right? The more goals, the fewer draws. It's very obvious. And still market, for some reason, does not adjust the prices here. I mean, I'm still saying they don't care, but they should care, but they don't. So anyway, I can only prove it with the results. It is meaningless, you can say, more or less, because it's not a lot, but I don't want the draw to happen. I have to be right on that. If we see here, I say 15.29, they say 16.53, so it's the lowest value anyway. So market could also say, well, no. Here, market says in Bayern it's less likely, and well, I would say here it's least likely. Anyway, but so they could argue, well, we have taken care for that. I'm saying if you've done so, you've not done it sufficiently. But results will tell, and results will tell in the long run. Of course, I might very well end up losing, which I'm a huge favorite to do in this season. And if I omitted those two comparisons here, because I was off, no idea. But if I omitted them, it doesn't necessarily mean I would have won here. I can't remember at all what would have happened, because I can tell by results usually if I was okay or bad. But I can say that this whole season, what I call it now, it's more or less a season of semi-pro results. They all know what is going to happen, I write it down, and it does happen. But they usually overrate the probability like that, but I can only prove it with results. If the probability, if it happens, I can hardly say I was better. I was worse. I was clearly worse. Anyway, in Schalke against Freiburg, so I would not, I argued about this one. So I would support that there is a point in me having the lowest probability for a draw. Anyway, there's a huge favorite, but it's also a goal-prone match, because Hoffenheim are, they are going forward and so on. A lot more like Augsburg and Bayern it should be, but yeah, anyway. Otherwise, here I would argue strongly, but I can only prove it with the result. I know that, but I would still say there are plenty of reasons, especially this Liverpool looming. How would you be able to focus? I mean, they could also say, well, the title we won it 6 times in a row. I mean, title here is not the most important thing. The Liverpool or Champions League, this is the most important one. So there's plenty of reason, but only well, first of all, the course of the game can of course give an answer, which I would say afterwards, or show afterwards what happened the course of the game. I could be right, but still lose, of course. But things like that, and I've tried to work it out in every preview review. I was talking about how well I really assessed it and how unlucky I may have been. Or, of course, if it had been lucky, I think there was this second match day when I was pretty lucky. I can't remember really. But I would easily admit that. Happily, easily, and so on. It does not cost me any money here, so. But I'm trying to be as objective as possible. I would take happily Freiburg, because I think Schalke, they are also. They have to play. Sorry, because who do they play again? Man City. Okay, so they gotta. You should know that. But I knew it. But I remembered Hoffenheim. But it was Hoffenheim who played Man City already, so I was a bit wondering. But it was Hoffenheim. You remember those games, maybe, and Hoffenheim did play quite well also at Man City and could well even have snatched a point or even won the game. They were very good. But of course, Schalke are huge dogs, but still they will. I mean, you can't ignore it if you are going to face Man City, which are one of the very big favorites, one of the very big teams in this competition right now. And Freiburg have done very well. So what's I mean, why? I mean, I can't see that. And Schalke are struggling all season. So I mean, they have been struggling. Do they have more points than Freiburg? I'm not even sure. We could look it up, but maybe well, I could do it quickly. I mean, I should know that. I know, but it's very close. No, Freiburg. Are 1 point ahead. So, I mean, I can't see that. Also, goal difference would say nothing much between them. If you look at the home record, 406, it also shows you, I mean, Schalke are not so reliable at home. While Freiburg on the road, 2-3-5, they lost only half of their games. And the other half win or draw, so that would be like a true price of 2.0 somehow. I mean, there has to be a lot between them, so Schalke should be such huge favorites. But anyway, only result in this instance can tell me. And but I can only support this. I do not quite understand why market is so low on Schalke. I don't know. Wolfsburg Mainz. This is not really having an opinion here, but I would still argue pro Mainz, but not because they played so well. They were struggling recently, and it was not really convincing. But it's still then, it's a new day, a new game, and they can perform a lot better. But this is also not massive here, 53.9. So this is more or less 54 or 55%. I mean, who would know this well? Still, I'm happily gonna go with Mainz, right? In Hertha, we have another such case where I just don't want the draw. Here I can argue clearly less than in the Hoffenheim game. What I can say though is that computer foresees a little bit more of goals, right? This is hard to read maybe here. But it says 2.81, So it's for some reason also expecting some goals. If you look back here, there had been a couple of over in Hertha. There was just one under here against Wolfsburg, 0-1. Otherwise, there were some goals. 3-0 win, 2-2, 3-1 win, Nuremberg, 3-1 loss, and 2-2, 2-1. And here it's anyway, well, quite often, frequently, those overs and some goals in Werder's game. And for some reason, market again says few goals here. I mean, I can imagine. I mean, it's Hertha at home, and sometimes you do not foresee these many goals. But on the other hand, I know what Werder are doing, and they are going forward. I mean, this coach is. I mean, you wouldn't think it in the first place, but after a while, you know that he's good, or say he's. I mean, he's playing his way of football, and I would say the same about in Bundesliga 2 with Paderborn. They are simply going forward and play their style, and they think, well, you can win games only if you go forward, and they do so, and they do it quite well. So this is again, it's reminding, of course, a bit of former times when Werder had always those many goals in their games. No, it was past. It was after Rehage already, but. So those times are back in some sense. And I mean, you can of course always look here. This is 68 goals in 21 games. So this is clearly more. This is almost 3.3 per game. Goal average is pretty high this season. Hertha 65 and 21. So this is also more than 3 goals per game. So I can also support this more goals here. In Frankfurt, once again, just I'm neutral, but this means still I'm gonna lose the draw. In Leverkusen Düsseldorf, this is another such example, and we had those games plenty of times, and market simply saying Leverkusen are gonna win more or less. I mean, we always get chances, and 150, 154, so not much of a difference, but I can win a lot, lose little. Okay, this is the way things go. But market supporting Leverkusen, but we remember that they came back from a 0-0 draw in Krasnodar last night on Thursday. And maybe this wasn't not the most convincing effort. I can't say that. I didn't see any pictures. I didn't read a lot. But most convincing 0-0, no goals. But also they had to travel pretty far. And okay, Thursday to Sunday, people are used to that, but still it's some energy. And so I would argue a bit in favor of them. Here, of course, I mean, Dortmund, we saw them losing 0-3 at Tottenham. Before that, they couldn't win twice in a row. So after the 3-0 lead against Hoffenheim, they lost 0-6, 0-3 from Hoffenheim, 3 from Tottenham. So that should somehow lower their confidence. Or, yeah, I mean, they were okay, I would say, in Tottenham, but maybe could we say they were better? It just happens sometimes, but it's also at the top of the air, so it's getting thinner. And they may have spotted this. So, and I'm always arguing they had been a bit clearly lucky this season. And but what about Nuremberg? I mean, they are terrible. But now they sacked this guy, the Kölner, and I would say, I mean, rightly so. This would be absolutely silly to say so. And they started the season with him, and they knew what they could expect, and they could. I mean, they had to know that they are one of the big favorites to go down. So, and if it happens, they shouldn't doubt their approach. I mean, we try, and if it's not going to happen. But now they still crumble under the media pressure, and also Kölner made an impression of, I don't care so much. I mean, it may happen too because he is confident enough. I mean, he's not, but he just doesn't want to expose himself to this kind of pressure. And every week in, week out, ask those silly questions and say, why didn't you play him, or why did you try this, or what are you going to stop this bad run? And then he simply says, well, I mean, go ahead, do your job. I'm happy with what I got, and I don't want to do this again or anymore. And this was somehow the impression, and also the players may have followed this advice, right? We don't care so much. I don't, you shouldn't say that. They lost in Hanover, they lost the player after 11 minutes. And anyway, it went downhill, but they were playing okay, I would say. But it can also, yeah, it is silly, whatever it is. But still, even though I would still say this is silly to even consider sacking the coach. I mean, you can, when you sign him, you say, this is your contract here, and do we agree, and so on. You say, okay, we're happy we got you, because, I mean, maybe we would have liked to have Guardiola, but he's not available, and we couldn't pay him, and so on. But we got who we got, and this is suits our style and our ambitions, and he's the one who convinced us and who can help our team. And then when they sign him, they should say, okay, 2 years at least. I mean, 2 years is ridiculous already. Because you would say, I would like to build something, build up, and maybe somewhere sign the players I need, somewhere study some tactics I would like to apply, somehow get used to those players and know what I got with everyone. And so you should say 6 years, or at least to build something, right? But they would say 2 years, but at least then, okay, this is the contract, okay, we know what we got, we know what can happen, we can lose games. And if it happens, we keep going, right? Because it happened to other teams too, and it will also happen with a new coach. Anyway, even though I don't believe in this approach, I can say here, I mean, yeah, well, no, it's not right, but it's of all those, maybe, you say players are not performing that well anymore. And so you would say, well, why not a new coach, and for this one game or those games to come, he might in fact really improve this team, or just care for a new attitude of the players, that they are it's just well, it's one way of approaching it, and it may really in fact help here. Okay, so I do not really argue pro Nuremberg, but all I can say is, well, it happens from time to time that a team profits from a coach sacking somehow. I would argue still against Dortmund, and of course this, as I would always do, when I'm actually confirmed now by results, because those draws, 2 draws, how many? I mean, we can of course look it up here in my database, and this is 2 draws, of course, in Frankfurt, which is pretty okay, but 3 goals given away against Hoffenheim. When I say, okay, they have given them away while Hoffenheim were twiddling some thumbs. I mean, Hoffenheim have done something for to score these 3 goals. Why do they say they have given them away? What have Hoffenheim done all the time? I mean, twiddling some thumbs. Watching them give the goals away, right? Hoffenheim had been watching, twiddling thumbs. They had been watching Dortmund to give these goals away. All of a sudden it was 3-3. Then the player said, oh, lucky me, lucky us. Okay, anyway, it's, I would consider this somehow justified, but only the result can tell me, and they won't repeat this game or anything unless there's another phantom goal that Nuremberg scored against Bayern, after which they replayed the game. But I think it was the only one in Bundesliga history that had been replayed. When Helmer was first, because he missed his chance, and then all of a sudden he went into celebration mode. And, if they say this was a goal, then time to celebrate. Although I know perfectly well this ball was not in. But when they say, what do they say about referees, right? They are untouchable. You can't argue with them. then he was right to react like that. Because if you would say, no, referee, this was a mistake, then you would say, yellow card, you're repeating, yellow, red, you're gone, you're off. I tell you when it was a goal and not you. So he was, yeah, anyway, I'm gonna end this video here, and I'm gonna see you back on Tuesday, because Monday night this game is gonna take place, which I can't see here on Sky. I don't know where it would be. You could watch it on the internet. I'm not gonna do that, most likely. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.